Hello and welcome to a brief video demonstration of the physics runner engine that I've built for GameMaker Studio. Just get right into it right here and take a look at what I have put together. The main interface that comes with it, or not interface, but the demo, very simplistic, just got a little ball which you can roll around. By hitting D, you can go into debug mode and see just exactly how the terrain is pieced together. Switching between the two, it looks spot on, pixel perfect. Won't have any issues with any players kind of floating off into space or not. That ball will remain in contact with the floor, and also using some cubic ease in and ease out blends here to get the terrain to form these nice undulations. Another feature of this engine is if the player, let's say, gets a lot of speed, hits a jump and goes flying through the air, that eventually the camera will zoom out and actually reposition too, giving the player a better view of what's below them. We can kind of cheat with this because I've built in by hitting the space bar. I'll just throw my character way up into the air. As you see, we zoom out and back in, and the camera zooms back in. Additionally to this engine is a imaginary boundary that will kind of keep up with the player, preventing them from going backwards. If we run forward for a little bit here, the distance that it usually keeps is about 2 screen lengths behind it. So if we roll back, as you can see, that boundary is updating. And another thing you can notice at the top of the screen there is the floor instance count. So going back into the debug mode, if you look at each one of these little red nodes there, that is pretty much the start of a floor object. And you can see it's at the point of inflections of each curve here. If we go around showing off all this, just to show you some of the procedural generation and how it works, we'll just kind of go for a little bit of a rip here. The build's incredibly light. Like I said, the floor instances will delete within a certain distance, keeping the number of active objects down. All the images that you see are drawn to surfaces, so once again, a very clean, efficient build. With this, if we run this in HTML5, you'll also notice that it runs fairly fast, that we get a pretty decent frame rate with it as well. Let's give it a second to pull up here. Click, so we can see the frame rate at the top there. Pretty solid throughout. Depending on the textures, they are pretty big. You might want to optimize it. I haven't spent too much time with this because I was never planning on making this for HTML games. If we turn off the fill actually by hitting F, you'll get quite a bit of improvement on the frame rate here that we're keeping just under 60 or pretty consistent to 59. Whoops, get my mouse out of the way there. So yeah, that's that. Going back into the game, let's stop it. Go back to Windows. What do I want to do? Right. Show you guys how you can easily incorporate any floor texture that you want. So let's do a little demonstration of that. Create a new sprite. Call it SPR. Test. And let's make a new sprite here. You can make it any width that you want. I find 20 is a pretty good one for keeping smooth terrain. Well, it's always smooth, but you'll get nice rapid changes in incline the smaller you keep this number. As for height, it's kind of up to you. Let's pick a number 96. And if we go into it, let's make let's say like a dirt or a grass terrain. So go in here, select something that's kind of earthy looking. Let's fill it and go to our pencil, pick a green, and we'll do a little bit of grass. And if we, match these two edges, it will kind of loop over. So that's one thing. If you're making your own terrains, make sure that they are seamless so that the textures do tile if you want. And if we want to fade this to black, but there's lots of options that you can do with this, but since we're already on the void texture below it, let's just go into here and add a gradient from basically fully transparent to fully opaque for the black. Make sure you're on the linear gradient here and that your first color is white and that the second color is black. And also untoggle replace if it's already clicked, otherwise you're not going to get anything too interesting out of this. So with that done, let's accept that. Yes. And you can leave the origin top left corner. We'll accept that as well. Going into the controller create event, if we scroll down to where the texture assets are, let's untoggle the one that we used for the demo here, and we're going to create our own floor texture that we just added in here. So floor texture, sprite, get texture, whoops, SPR, test, image index 0. So the void texture below it, it's just a long black, well, it doesn't even have to be long because it's going to be stretched. It's mapped out to vertices anyway, so you can make it any size you want. If you are going to be putting some kind of detail in it, they'll make sure that the size matches up. What? Why didn't you run? Alright, let's try that again, now that it's compiling. And now you'll see that beautiful floor texture that I made. Maps out, it tiles. There's infinite number of things that you could do with this, but rolling forward, as you can see, that gradient fades in and out. Perfect. Leave it up to you guys to do whatever you want. And one last thing, just to kind of show what I've put together as a showcase or a demonstration. Let's knock that out. Kind of built like a Tron-inspired rider here, so we just got to change a couple things quickly here. Make sure it draws the sky that I've added in. And we're going to create the neon rider and make sure that we get rid of this guy. And in our script also, we're going to want to generate the sky. Everything's commented in here, what's doing what basically if you go through, and it will tell you what changing certain parameters. For example, random floor length. We have a number between 30 and 80. This will multiply by the width of the texture that you're using for the floor, so depending on how wide it is and how long you want those floors to be, you can change numbers such as that. And we'll put this neon at the top. I think I have everything already. So yeah, there's my little neon rider, kind of Tron inspired, creates a little trail behind him. Nothing too exciting, getting that zoom effect going on there. And that's basically it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy. If you have any comments, you can look at my details below in the video here, and I hope you check it out on the GameMaker Marketplace. Thank you.